Hey guys, it's Marley and welcome back to my channel, Type 1 Reader. In today's video, I'm going to be doing the 5-star predictions book tag. This tag was originated by Chloe Frizzle, so I'll link her down below. But I was actually tagged by Nat from Nerdy Nat Reads. Thanks so much for the tag. I'm excited because I don't often talk about my 5-star predictions. I don't think I've ever done a sit-down video just kind of going through a bunch of my predictions. So it was definitely fun to reflect when planning my answers for this video and kind of remind myself like I need to prioritize these books that I predict to be 5 stars, especially when I've started to plan my end of the year content for this year. And when looking at my best books of the year, I only rated like 7 books 5 stars this year. That's not even one a month. So I really need to prioritize reading 5-star books. So I think it was really good for me to do this tag right now and just kind of think about which books I do want to prioritize next year that I actually think could be 5 stars. Anyway, let's just get into the questions. So the first question is, what is a 5-star prediction book that is by a favorite author? So for this one, I decided to say The Grandest Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I don't know if I would necessarily call her a favorite author just because I've only read her one series, The Inheritance Games, but that series is overall like a 5-star series for me. So I feel like we can consider Jennifer one of my favorite authors, and this is her new series that has launched that takes place in the same world and with the same characters from the Inheritance Games. So I have a pretty good feeling that this could be a 5-star for me. If you don't know, this is a YA like mystery thriller book. It is about a competition that Avery has started. Avery's the main character from the Inheritance Games, and she had, inherited a lot of money in that initial series. So I'm pretty sure in this book she has launched this competition so that she can kind of give away some of the inheritance to some people who are in need and who earn it in this game or in this competition. I still haven't even bought this book yet. I really need to get my hands on it. The next question is a 5-star prediction where someone else loving it has made you be interested in it or gotten you excited for it. For this one, I'm going to say A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed. This is one that a lot of people have talked about and hyped up and got me excited for, but I think Nat is actually one of the people who I watch who has highly talked about this, so I thought it was fitting to mention a book that she has loved since she tagged me in this video. So I'm pretty sure she has really enjoyed this book and enjoyed Ava Reed as an author overall, and I've seen a number of other booktubers really enjoy this book as well, and that's just really put it on my radar and made me have really high hopes for it. So high, in fact, that I actually bought this like special edition of the book. It has like these sprayed edges of like a library. I believe this cover is slightly different than the original cover. I guess it has some cool end pages as well. I wonder what's on the actual front of the book. Oh, that's very pretty. Yeah, I don't normally buy like special editions too often. Obviously they're a bit more expensive, but this just shows like I really anticipate loving this book. So what is it about, you may ask? I actually can't even recall off the top of my head. On the back it says, but if fairies and monsters were real, so were the women who defeated them. Okay, love that. Love fairies, love monsters, love women. Okay, let's see. Effie Sayre has always believed in fairy tales. Even though crumbling under the pressure of her first term at college, she can't always seem to tell the difference between fact and fiction. Her only solace has been Angharad, an epic from Lyrian national hero and author Emrys Midrid. Struggling a little with some of these terms, sorry. Taken by chance and maybe fate to the late author's estate, she is intent on finding the purpose to her own story, but instead stumbles upon Preston Hillary, a scholar from Literature College. Preston has come to Hiereth Manor, determined to prove Effie's favorite author is a fraud, and her only hope of proving him wrong is to conspire with him. But Hiereth, perched on the very edge of a wrathful ocean, holds dark secrets, the likes of which both Effie and Preston thought only existed in the pages of Myriad's stories. The house and the truth might just ruin them both, as the sea threatens to swallow it, them, and all their stories whole. Yes, so I love that. Like, I love, fairy tales, magic. This has a dark academia vibe, which I discovered last year. I really enjoy dark academia. Obviously the romance, I assume, is going to be taking place between these two characters, so it's screaming 5 stars. Like, I need to read it. Okay, next 5-star prediction is one where the blurb or the tropes are really your thing, and that's why it's a 5-star prediction. So the first one is going to be A Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Robertson. So maybe let's read the description again for this book so you can see why, based on the like description and tropes, I think it'd be a 5-star. Basically, this is a fantasy. I think it's young adult as well. It says all sorcerers are evil. Elizabeth has known that as long as she's known anything. Raised as a foundling in one of Ostermere's great libraries, Elizabeth has grown up among the tools of sorcery, magical grimoires that whisper on shelves and rattle beneath iron chains. If provoked, they transform into grotesque monsters of ink and leather. She hopes to become a warden, charged with protecting the kingdom from their power. So already, it's kind of sounding similar to the last book I just talked about, Study in Drowning. So clearly, like, there's a theme and tropes that I'm intrigued by. Then an act of sabotage releases the library's most dangerous grimoire. Elizabeth's desperate intervention implicates her in the crime, and she is torn from her home to face justice in the capital. With no one to turn to but her sworn enemy, the sorceress Nathaniel Thorne, and his mysterious demonic servant, she finds herself entangled in a centuries-old conspiracy. Not only could the great libraries go up in flames, but the world among them. So, another trope I love, enemies to lovers. I really love the sound of that romance. As her alliance with Nathaniel grows, Elizabeth starts to question everything she's been taught about sorcerers, about the library she loves, even at herself. For Elizabeth has a power she has never guessed, and a future she could never have imagined. And I mean, I guess you could say I enjoy the chosen one trope, which sounds like this might have. So yeah, I mean, this one could also go maybe even for like the previous one because it has been pretty hyped up by certain people for me as well. But yeah, this one just sounds like the type of fantasy that I would really, really love. So I need to buy this one too. I need to buy all of these. Oh, I wanted to mention a second one for this question, a little bit cheating, but I wanted to mention The Roughest Draft, and this is by Emily Wibberley and Austin Siegeman Broca. I think maybe they're a couple in real life, but this would be like a romance 5-star prediction for me because I'm pretty sure it's about these two authors who end up writing a book together. Actually, what is the plot of this? Yeah, so this definitely has a ton of romance tropes I love because it's these two people who used to write books together and were really successful, but for some reason they had a falling out. They hate each other now, but now they have to come back together and write again. And so this is giving enemies to lovers or hate to love or something because we know some beef happened between them and now they're reconnecting. Giving forced proximity because now they are forced to be in this house together writing this book. And obviously it sounds quite similar to Beach Read by Emily Henry, which is one of the first adult romance books I read that I really, really loved. So this one's been out for a little while now. I just really do have high expectations for it whenever I do eventually get to it. Okay, next one is a 5-star prediction that is one of your most anticipated future releases. So something that's not released yet. For this, I'm gonna say Oathbound by Tracy Deonn. This is the 3rd book in the Legendborn series. This is another young adult fantasy series, so frick. I just really think I'm gonna love a lot of young adult fantasies. This of course follows Bree. She's going to this school and she ends up getting wrapped up in this mysterious kind of group at the school that hunts demons and their descendants from Knights of the Round Table. So it deals with like Arthurian legends, which is definitely a favorite trope of mine. The first book wasn't perfect, but I did give it a really high rating. And the second book I gave 5 stars and was just obsessed with. So I assume like the 3rd book is just going to be as good for me. I think this is a series where as you get further into it, it gets better because you start to understand the world more and more. That was an issue with the first book, was so much info dumping and it was kind of hard to wrap your head around. But as you get farther into the series, develop the relationship between Bree and Selwyn more and more, which is an OTP of mine. I just think it's getting better. So I'm really excited for Oathbound to be released next year. Expect a reading vlog. Okay, next one is a bold or risky 5-star prediction that you need to manifest into 5 stars. So for this one that I think is a little risky for me to say is The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. This is a thriller book that came out maybe last year. It's one I've heard really mixed things about, which is why it's risky. I've really seen people love it and give it 5 stars, and I've seen people really hate it. So that's why it's a risk for me, but I just felt like as soon as I heard about it, that it could be a 5-star for me. Obviously, I love thrillers, and the synopsis of this book sounds really interesting. It's about a group of authors that go on a writing retreat, of course. We have that isolated setting, a group of strangers together, which is a favorite of mine. And then I think people start being killed. I think it's that kind of thing where the writers start dying. I don't know, it's something like that, but I just love a whodunit situation with a group of people together and you're trying to figure out like what the connections are between them, what's going on. So I would love to manifest this into 5 stars. Next up is a book you've been putting off reading because your hopes are so high for it. A book that kind of fits for this question is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross, another young adult fantasy. I even bought this book because I was just hearing so many good things about it, and for whatever reason, like, I just really thought I would love it and it could be 5 stars. But obviously this book came out a while ago now and I still have not read it. I feel like I'm a little bit nervous that I won't actually like it, and now I'll have bought it and I still need to buy the sequel. And anyways, it stresses me out when I invest in something and then I don't love it. So I'm a little bit nervous to get into it, but still excited. I know it is mainly a romance. I think maybe I don't know if it's considered a romantasy, but there's some sort of war going on between the gods. There's these 2 people who are, I think, both journalists, and they're writing to each other in this war. I think it's like forbidden love kind of situation, star-crossed lovers. That just really intrigued me at the time, but we'll have to see when I finally read it. Question 7 is a book that has a cover so beautiful that you've already fallen in love with it. And one I've been seeing around recently is So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. This kind of cover is just really cool to me. I really adore a lot of Rachel Harrison's covers. Now she's definitely on my radar as potentially a 5-star author. I recently read her book Cackle last month and I really loved it. So now I really want to keep reading her books, and I feel like there's such potential for them to be 5 stars, especially this one, because I've been hearing that it's about vampires, and I really do love vampires. I don't read enough about them anymore, but you know, back in the day, that was all I read. I think it's also about female friendship, and I just feel like I could really enjoy the themes of this, and this is a horror book as well. Okay, the next prompt is a book that's the next in the series of a series that you've loved. So for this, I'm going to say another release that has not come out quite yet, and that's The Rag Picker King by Cassandra Clare. This is the sequel to Swordcatcher. I gave this one 5 stars. I loved it. So obviously I am really hopeful that I'll love The Rag Picker King, especially with the title, because The Rag Picker King was like one of my favorite characters in the first book and I was really intrigued by him. But yeah, if you don't know what it's about, it is an adult fantasy, but it's quite easy to read. Like, even if you're used to reading young adult, I think you could definitely enjoy this. It deals with this main character, I think his name was Kel, and he is assigned to be the sword catcher for the prince. So he's in charge of taking care of him and like catching any swords that might hit him, kind of being his bodyguard. And then we also have some magic in this world that's banned, and our other main character is one of those magic people. It's very like political. It's very much about the different families, the politics going on in this like kingdom. A little hard to explain, but I definitely enjoyed it. And the Rag Picker King was kind of like the criminal on the streets. So I'm definitely excited to read more about him. Actually, I have a second one for this question too. That's gonna be Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. I could even have said this for the book that you're kind of putting off, because I read Ninth House last year. I think it was my favorite book of the year last year, and I bought this, but I have not read it yet. I'm really hoping I'll enjoy it just as much. But this series is the Alex Stern series. So we're following our main character Alex, who has the power to like see ghosts, and then she starts working at Yale, and with the secret societies she takes on this like murder mystery plot. It was very like spooky, intriguing, mysterious. There's like some cool romances between some different characters. It's very funny. I was just like obsessed with it last year. So in the sequel, I don't know a ton about it other than like there's some stuff having to do with hell. But I think people have really enjoyed it still. I think they've enjoyed it as much as Ninth House from what I've heard. So I really need to get on this. The next one is a 5-star prediction that is popular and you want to get on that train. So, I mean, a lot of these could have counted for this one as well. But for this one, I'm going to say A Curious Beginning by Deanna Raybourn. This is the first book in the Veronica Speedwell series. It's pretty popular. I think it's like a cozy mystery series, which is not necessarily my favorite, but I just think this sounds really good, and the romance really intrigues me between Veronica and whoever the guy is. I forget his name. Actually, let's look this up. Yeah, so it takes place in like Victorian London. Yeah, so okay, it's about Veronica and Stoker. They're forced to go on the run from an elusive assailant as wary partners in the search of the villainous truth. So it's kind of like, I think, a slow burn romance between the two of them. It's giving almost like Emily Wilde, I feel, of like the two leads being like the main characters, and they're going on these different adventures, solving different mysteries. And anyways, I've just heard really good things about the series. I think the fact that it's a slow burn and it's a mystery, I just really love those tropes or those genres, whatever. So that's on the list. And the last one is one that just gives 5-star vibes. plain and simple. So for this one, I'm gonna say A Far Wilder Magic by Allison Saft. I'm gonna read the description for this one because I cannot quite recall, but I'm pretty sure it's another young adult fantasy. When Margaret Welty spots the legendary Hala, the last living mythical creature, she knows the half-moon hunt will soon follow. Whoever is able to kill the Hala will earn fame and riches and unlock an ancient magical secret. If Margaret wins the hunt, it may finally bring her mother home. While Margaret is the best sharpshooter in town, only teams of 2 can register, and she needs an alchemist. Weston Winters isn't an alchemist yet. Fired from every apprenticeship he's landed, his last chance hinges on Master Welty taking him in. But when Wes arrives at Welty Manor, he finds only Margaret and her bloodhound Trouble. Margaret begrudgingly allows him to stay, but on one condition, he must join the hunt with her. Okay, love the setup of that romance. Although they make an unlikely team, Wes is in awe of the girl who is endured alone on the outskirts of a town that doesn't want her in this creaking house of ghosts and sorrow. And even though Wes disrupts every aspect of her life, Margaret is drawn to him. He too knows what it's like to be an outsider. As the hunt looms closer and tensions rise, Margaret and Wes uncover dark magic that could be the key to winning the hunt if they survive that long. Okay, love a hunt, love a competition, love a romance that again sounds kind of enemies to lovers-ish. I want to say Nat has talked highly about this book as well. Or maybe I'm wrong. Readers also enjoy Study and Drowning and Emily Wilde. So yeah, I'm really going with a certain vibe, I think, with these 5-star predictions. But you can see what I'm definitely like interested in. And now I feel really inspired to do a 5-star prediction reading vlog, because a lot of these are YA fantasy too, so it could be like a theme. Anyways, that is all the questions. I didn't pick out anyone to tag, but if you are interested in doing this tag, like honestly, go for it. I would love to see. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to leave me a comment down below if you have thoughts on any of these books, if you've read them, if you agree, you think I'm gonna like them and give them 5 stars. I would love to know. And hope you'll subscribe so you can see my eventual review of these books whenever I read them. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time in a new video. Bye.